You're sitting across from someone, a coworker maybe, someone you met at a friend's birthday, and something feels different. They haven't said anything obvious, they haven't made a move, but some part of your brain is whispering, this person likes you. What you don't realize is that your brain picked up on at least 5 signals before that thought ever formed. And number 3, it's the one neither of you will ever consciously notice. The internet is full of "they like you" lists. Play with their hair, laugh at your jokes, and sure, some of that tracks, but most of it has zero research behind it. These 5 are different. Each one comes from a specific study, and almost all of them happen completely below conscious awareness. Sign 5. Their voice drops around you. Think about the last time you called someone you were into. Not a work call, someone who made your stomach flip. Did you notice your voice change? You probably didn't. But in 2010, researchers Susan Hughes, Sally Farley, and Bruce Rhodes at Albright College recorded 45 people calling both an attractive and an unattractive person. Both men and women dropped their vocal pitch when talking to the person they found attractive. Women lowered theirs by about 25 hertz. Strangers who heard both recordings correctly guessed which call was directed at the attractive person 59% of the time. Not from what was said, purely from the sound. Your voice is basically announcing your interest to the room without asking your brain's permission. And there's a reason this works, because it connects to something even harder to fake. Sign 4. They mirror your movements. You lean forward, they lean forward. You cross your arms, 30 seconds later they cross theirs. You take a sip of your drink, and without thinking, they reach for theirs. In 1999, psychologists Tanya Chartrand and John Bark at NYU ran 3 experiments on what they called the chameleon effect. People automatically copy the postures and gestures of whoever they're talking to. No strategy, pure reflex. When a confederate deliberately mirrored a participant's body language, that participant reported liking them significantly more and rated the interaction as smoother. And they had absolutely no idea they were being mimicked. Your nervous system reads physical alignment as emotional alignment. Same posture, same team. But the version of these signals you've heard before, that's not the full picture. Because sign number 3 is happening in every conversation where someone is even slightly attracted to someone else, and neither person has any idea. Sign 3. Their pupils give them away. Imagine you're talking to someone at a party. The lighting hasn't changed, nothing startling has happened. But if you could freeze that moment and measure the diameter of their pupils, you'd find them slightly wider than they were 5 minutes ago. In 2022, researchers Clara Calablato and Brian Scholl at Yale showed participants a series of faces. Some had slightly dilated pupils, some had constricted ones. They wanted to know, does your brain actually register the difference? The answer was yes. Observers automatically paid more attention to faces with dilated pupils. Those faces enter their awareness faster. Their brains flagged them as more interesting without being told to. Colombato and Scholl called it attentional contagion. After the experiment, they debriefed all 60 participants. 2 of them, 2 out of 60, had consciously noticed anything different about the eyes. 1 thought it was a color difference. The other just said some faces seemed more intense. Your brain is running an entire evaluation of someone's interest based on millimeters of pupil movement, and your conscious mind never gets the memo. And if that sounds like your brain is working behind your back, the sign number 2 proves it's not just noticing, it's obsessing. Sign number 2, they can't look away from you. Ever notice someone glancing at you just a beat too long? Not a stare, not creepy. Their attention just seems stuck. Psychologist John Manner and his colleagues tested what they called attentional adhesion. When people see an attractive face, their visual attention literally gets glued to it. This happens within the first second, before any conscious thought of attraction has even formed. And the downstream effect is wild. When your brain locks onto someone this hard, it burns through so much processing power that you become temporarily blind to everything else. In one study, 79% of participants failed to notice when the person they were video chatting with was quietly swapped for someone else. If someone seems locked onto you while the rest of the room blurs out for them, that's not charm. That's their visual cortex in overdrive. The final sign is where all of these invisible signals become something you can actually feel. Sign 1, they find excuses to get closer. You're in a group conversation and one person keeps drifting a little closer to you than everyone else, or they touch your arm for a half second while making a point. Nothing dramatic, just a quiet gravitational pull. Anthropologist Edward Hall mapped 4 distance zones humans maintain. That innermost ring, 0 to 18 inches, is reserved for people who've earned a very specific kind of trust, and attraction is the fastest way to shrink the distance. Researcher Nicholas Guigan had a female Confederate touch men's forearms for just 1 to 2 seconds while asking for help. That's it, a brush that barely registers. But the men who were touched showed significantly more eye contact, more conversation, more courtship behavior than those who weren't. A 1-second touch rewired their entire behavioral output, and nobody in the room, including them, understood why. Here's what all 5 of these have in common. None of them are choices. Nobody decides to dilate their pupils. Nobody plans to mirror your posture or drop their voice by 25 hertz. That gut feeling you sometimes get, the one that says, I think they like me before you have any evidence, it's not a guess. It's your brain finishing a calculation it started the moment you walked into the room, built on pupil diameter, vocal frequency, spatial proximity, motor synchrony, and attentional bandwidth. You were never guessing. You were reading a language you didn't know you spoke. If this changed how you think about attraction, hit subscribe. We break down the science behind why your brain does what it does.